We got early access to this phone about 3 weeks ago, and this is an actually great phone. Introducing the new iQOO Neo 10. This phone might look very similar to the iQOO 13, and I agree, but it is equipped with the new Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. Treat it like a budget version of the iQOO 13 because it actually is, and it is priced at only 1,999 ringgit Malaysia. But is this phone any good? Let's talk about it in today's video. So remember to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. And I want to highlight a few things in particular about this phone, starting off with the performance. This iQOO Neo 10 is again using the new Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 chipset, the successor to the weirdly positioned 8S Gen 3 from last year. Following the name, it should be somewhere in between the 8 Elite and the 8 Gen 3, but the performance is actually quite good. You can watch our full gaming test video at the top right corner there to know more about it. We were getting great frame rates in Genshin Impact at maximum graphics as it was 60 FPS throughout the beginning part, but after a while the temperature does rise to around like 48 to 49 degrees Celsius, which is really high. And that is when thermal throttling will kick in and the performance dips. It drops to around 40-ish FPS, and I still consider this to be a great gaming experience as the frame rate consistency is good. Zenless Zone Zero is another demanding game, and the iQOO Neo 10 managed to maintain it around 30 FPS at maximum graphics. While the number is not high, the frame rate consistency is once again well maintained. What I mean by frame consistency is that if it's at 30 FPS, then it maintains 30 FPS with no major fluctuations. Just imagine that if it is running at 60 FPS but it suddenly drops to like 20 or something, that would be very distracting. So frame rate consistency is always better than frame rate number. Wuthering Waves had lower frame rates, hovering at around 30 FPS, but the render resolution was way higher than Genshin Impact. So no surprises there. What's surprising though is the analysis part. As you can see from all the games that we have tested, it says that the chip only used about 3 watts for each game. That doesn't make sense. For this kind of performance, it's never just 3 watts of power. The temperature is just too high for it to be consuming 3 watts of power. If it is really just consuming 3 watts of power for this kind of performance, it just heats up too much for the phone to cool it down, and that would mean that the cooling system is bad, and I know that is not true. So the only logical conclusion here is that the VTool scene cannot log the power consumption correctly. And I don't blame VTool scene here because this chip is so new that Device Info HW still does not display the name of the chip correctly. So all in all, the performance of the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 in the iQOO Neo 10 is decent, but nothing out of the ordinary, I would say. This iQOO Neo 10 also has the supercomputing Q1 chip, just like the iQOO 13, which we will have a future video testing it out. So do like and subscribe, as you don't want to miss out on that video. As for the battery life though, well, this is where things get a little bit more surprising. Because when I looked at the thermal camera picture of the iQOO Neo 10, I realized that there is a little butt crack at the bottom here. Ah, I see. It's a dual cell battery, and the heat signature from the battery is so clear that we can see the line separating between the two cells. And that is not all. This iQOO Neo 10 has an equivalent of 7000 mAh battery capacity. That is just outstanding, as this phone looks like any other phones that we have in the market right now. Using our standardized battery life test, this phone can last the longest in our test, more than 25 hours. Yes, I waited for more than a day for this battery life test to finish. It's just great. No wonder I cannot finish up the battery when I was using this phone as my hotspot device for the whole day during Computex. And yet, the charging speed is also amazing. You see, within the box of the iQOO Neo 10, it comes with the Vivo Flash Charge 120 watts charger. As usual, we did one charging test with the default out-of-the-box settings, and it can charge from 15% to completion in around 47 minutes. It's really fast, and yet the temperature is still below 42.5 degrees Celsius. That's good, and that means we can pump in even more wattage. So when we head into the settings menu, we can turn up the charging speed to the fastest. That will make it charge from 15% to completion in just around 30 minutes, but the temperature will spike up really high to maintain around like 42.5 degrees Celsius most of the time. But that's not all. Let's talk about USB PD PPS charging. In short, this phone supports all USB PD PPS because it has bypass charging feature, and it can even charge to 100 watts via this method too, at least on paper. With the fast charging option disabled, it takes around 45 watts only, and it charges from 15% to completion in about an hour. And again, that is nothing out of the ordinary. When we did enable the fastest charging speed possible, the iQOO Neo 10 can take up to 85 watts via USB PD. Yes, we checked. And it takes around 40 minutes to charge from 15% to completion, and that is amazing. Personally, I am super happy with what iQOO did with this phone. It supports both their own proprietary charging standard for even faster charging, while also supporting high wattage via USB PD so that we can use whatever charger we want and still get fast charging. This is brilliant, and other phone brands need to learn from this. With good performance, great battery life, and amazing charging speed, we need a beautiful screen to match. This phone has a 6.78-inch OLED screen with a higher than usual resolution of 2800 by 1260 pixels. Now, there are lots of claims made about this display, and I have to say that they are actually very close to the truth. The iQOO Neo 10 claims that it has 2000 nits of global brightness, and yes, from our tests, it can reach around 1975 nits on auto brightness. That is just blindingly bright. As for the color accuracy, it's fairly good, covering around 98.17% of DCI-P3 color gamut. The delta E number is indeed low, and I do think that the maximum delta E number here is a fluke, as in an outlier. As for the design, this iQOO Neo 10 is really simple, I would say. It looks basically the same as the iQOO 13, but with a much bigger battery capacity. This gold color also makes it look very clean, and the camera bump is also quite tiny. Since we're here, let's now talk about the cameras. There are two cameras on this phone, and I also brought this phone with me to Computex at Taipei to take pictures with it too. I do think that the main camera looks fairly okay, and the colors look quite flat in certain scenarios. At night, it cannot control the bright signboard's brightness level that well, and it has obvious over-sharpening effect too. It's a decent camera, all things considered, but don't expect this phone's camera to be mind-blowing. The ultra-wide-angle camera is to be expected. It's an 8-megapixel sensor, and the quality is just not as good, as the images are not sharp, and it does have some blur around the corners as well. This is especially true for night shots, and the colors are also not that good, but it's a serviceable camera. I mean, hey, I expected the iQOO Neo 10 to be a gaming phone, not a camera phone. So this is the trade-off that we have to make when we get this phone. As for the software, it's basically the same FunTouch OS as iQOO 13. It has some ads, but only through the included browser, and it still has the vApp Store alongside with some pre-installed apps and games. Still, this is a very fluid experience, and I don't have any strong likes or dislikes about FunTouch OS. Alright, a few more things to mention here. The iQOO Neo 10 has a dual SIM card slot, a USB 2.0 port at the bottom with no display output capability, and also an IR blaster at the top. So at the end of the day, is the iQOO Neo 10 a good phone? I'd say yes, actually. Especially for us here in Malaysia, this phone retails for only 1,999 ringgit Malaysia. For this kind of performance, battery life, amazing charging speed alongside great compatibility with USB PD PPS, I'd say it's amazing. But don't expect the cameras to do wonders though. They are indeed usable, but just not up to my standard. Other than that, this is an amazing budget phone for gaming, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it to mobile gamers alike. If you want to get it for yourself, then I will leave all the links down in the description below. And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our analysis of the supercomputing Q1 chip that brings extra features to supported games. If you have any other questions regarding the iQOO Neo 10, then leave them down in the comment section below. I will see you guys in the next video.